So what we advise in general is to, whenever you have date time in your functions as an input value, you start creating variations, and you test for 31st of December, you test for the 1st of January, you test for the 29th of February, you test for calling the method repeatedly, but first basically simulating daylight saving time.
Exactly. So you need to simulate when the click happens. So when you move from the one day to another, like from 1 year to another, from 29th December to the 1st of March, and so on. This is something that's a bit more difficult to test maybe, but you need to do that. You need to simulate that.
And of course, this assumes that you can inject the time as a variable. So never use system clock current time inside the function. Instead, pass a variable with the time.
And we need to be able to inject that time multiple ways if you want to test the passing of the date or of the year, because otherwise you just get stuck. So this is a problem where I think singleton can be an issue, because you might imagine you need the date time being a singleton.
Yes.
It will be very difficult to test if you have date time as a singleton.
Yeah, and it's not.
Exactly.
As you can see, it's not. So I guess this covers the, let's say, the serious part. Now you can also play with these things.
Of course.
And one of our favorite ideas has been to use Conway's Game of Life
during the Code Retreat, or the Global Day of Code Retreat.
And in Conway's Game of Life, in case you don't know, you have basically a universe, and you have some cells that can either live or die from one iteration to another, depending on various rules. And you get a lot of patterns. Sometimes you get more cells clumped into one place, sometimes they tend to dissipate and die, and so on. But a fun one would be to play with how fast time passes, depending on the concentration of cells in one area. And this will show you how difficult relativistic time can be. It's a simulation. I think it's a fun one. Have you done anything like that?
Yes, a few times while I was playing with wormholes. So that you have different places in the universe where you have time passes in a different way, and we were just simplifying it. So in one part was 1.2 times how fast the time would pass in the other place. So that means that in Conway's Game of Life you apply the rules at once for all the cells, but that means that you stop applying the rules at once, and maybe only because it's 1.2, each 5 times you will have to apply at once. So it's becoming very difficult. So you start understanding that in fact applying all the rules, which is called the tick moment in Conway's Game of Life, when creating a new generation, is not something that needs to happen only once. So it's more like an event that happens depending on where you are.
Yes.
So everything changes.
That's actually the fun thing, because in a typical implementation you'd call tick again and again and again, but in this implementation you basically disconnect the time axis from the ticks.
Yeah.
And that's a different idea. All right, so this is it. This is just a primer, by the way. Date time is incredibly complex. We just wanted to go through some of the most common things that we see in code and with our clients that lead to bugs, lead to problems in production that affect